Good morning. I would say it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I haven't been to Oxford since I graduated. I didn't graduate in the 70s like Paul. I actually graduated in 2011, so it's been a couple of years since I've been back, and I plan to walk down the streets and relive my student memories again. I'm here to talk about a topic that may sound boring to some because I work in the area of teacher training. Not a very fancy area to work in, but it's an area that we're trying to disrupt and change. I've been working in education. I started my career as a teacher, hence my interest in teaching. I then moved on to management consulting, then moved on to setting up an education consultancy business, focusing on the education sector. After working in education consultancy for a very long time, I realized that the one factor that is going to change education in Saudi is its teachers. All the research from the OECD, all the research that we've been reading around in high-performing countries says that a quality of a system cannot exceed the quality of its teachers. If you have teachers that are of high quality, you have a high-performing system regardless of any challenges. So this is what we've been trying to do for the past couple of years. I wanted to start with a common wisdom that I always hear, whether in my son's school or when I say I'm an educator or I'm an education expert. The first thing that I hear from people is if we respect teachers, if we treat teachers well, if we respect the teaching profession as a whole, then the education sector will change. Now, yes, this is true, and some of the research says yes, it is important for a culture to respect teachers in the teaching profession. However, it's not that simple. And sometimes I want to go to my son's schools and tell them about this. No, it's not that simple. It's not just about respecting the teachers. What we really need to do is we need to have effective teacher policies. And this is what we currently don't have in the kingdom today, and we are working towards developing effective teacher policies. And this is what high-performing systems have. There is a deliberate effort to set the right and effective teacher policies. But what are teacher policies? When I say teacher policies, it's all the rules and regulations that manage the teacher within the workforce. What do we expect from teachers? Do we license teachers or we don't? How do we recruit them? How do we train them? How do we develop them? How do we retain them in the classroom? Because a lot of the good teachers leave the classroom. So some of the policy questions that we're grappling with today in Saudi Arabia and abroad as well. Do we license teachers or not? It's a discussion that we've been having since 2014. Our teachers enter the classroom with a bachelor degree without a professional license. And a lot of the top performing systems license teachers. What is our performance and development accountability framework? How do we train teachers? Less than teachers take about 10 hours of training a year, which is very different from the global average of 80 hours a year. Standards of reference and definitions of quality teaching. What does good teaching look like? We still don't have a definition of what good teaching looks like in Saudi. What does effective professional development look like? How do we measure teacher effectiveness? Our teachers are so unmotivated, unincentivized. How can we incentivize them and measure these very difficult questions that we need to answer at a policy level? It's not just a matter of respecting teachers. It's a matter of setting the right policies, testing these policies, and putting them in place. And most importantly, and this is what systems are facing now, is how do we retain effective teacher inside the classroom? Because I want the good teacher to remain in the classroom for as long as possible. Now, we looked at the research before venturing into what do we want to do for teachers. So I said, Mounira, you're going to spend your life doing education, do it in what matters. It's teachers. What are good top performing countries doing? They're doing three things. A mandatory practicum training, which is generally led by government, teacher training colleges. In Saudi, it's generally led by Kulliyat al-Ta'lim or Kulliyat al-Tarbiyah. Then you have bespoke professional development, which is in service, what teachers do when they go into the service. Then you have the formative teacher appraisal, which is again led by the government. 86% of our teachers are in government sector, so there isn't much that we can do in teacher appraisal. So we said, what can we do here? What can we do to improve teachers when they go in service? We looked again at what different countries are doing in service. There is compulsory in-service training For us, it wasn't compulsory in-service training. The private sector isn't incentivized to train teachers because there's high teacher attrition, teachers changing, policies changing. Generally, professional development is expensive. You cannot find the right trainer to train your teachers. In order for professional development to be effective, you really need to have professional development that is targeted towards improving student learning, which doesn't always happen. So there are a lot of problems with professional development in general, but there is a very high correlation between higher or more professional, more effective professional development and higher performance in a country. So we did all the academic research. Okay, what do we do? Where are we in Saudi? We're serving 5.9 million students in K-12. I'm focusing on K-12 across 30,000 schools. It's so big. It's a very big system. We have 85% of the schools are public, and our teachers are in public sector. We have about 600,000 teachers. I'll say about because I'm not sure of this number. So 86% is public, 12% is private, and 2% are in international schools. So the bulk of our workforce is in the public sector, and they represent, by the way, one of the largest numbers of the public sector workforce as well. We're expecting a 13% increase in demand by 2025, which is another 70,000 teachers by 2025. And I have 10,000 teachers entering the workforce every year. What am I going to do with them? What's the quality of these teachers? And you have 200,000 teachers on the wait list. You really need to do something about this. You really need to upskill these teachers and this workforce. There's a recent research that we did that shows for 4,000 teachers, we did a quick survey before starting our business. We realized that about 10% of teachers in the workforce haven't taken any training at all, and the majority, or more than 35%, between 1 and 5 hours, and then you have the rest between 6 and 10 hours. But again, even if they're covering these hours, what are they really learning? And mostly what they're learning is strategies, not really how to be an effective teacher. So we started reading what's happening abroad with all, the movement on e-learning, massive open online courses, what's going on. One data point really struck me. As many as 39%, so let's say 40% of students who are registering to MOOCs are teachers, and this is in the United States. It struck me. So it means that teachers need continuous update to their knowledge. They need these short courses that give them information about what they can do about a specific subject, about how they can improve their teaching, etc. So we know that this is not a new idea. Massive open online courses have started as televised courses for teachers. So the first massive open online course was actually for teachers I think it was 1958. The US government, after the USSR succeeded in releasing the Sputnik, they said, okay, we need to do something about math and science. Our math and science is not doing very well, so let's have a televised teacher training program for teachers to improve math and science. It was televised in the morning, and you had 400,000 teachers registered in this course, and they were accredited by university. It was a physics course. You had 600,000 teachers that were accredited for the chemistry course, and then you had about 1.5 million teachers who took the American government course. So it's not a new idea. It's simple. Put teachers in front of the TV, teach them, and try to upskill them at a large scale. So this is what we started. We started A'nab Academy. منصة أعناب, منصة المعلمين العرب. This is what we call it, with the idea that we want to provide a professional learning platform for teachers. Again, not a new idea, but it is very sector focused on developing teachers with providing high quality content, short courses, I would call them micro credentials, for teachers to improve their teaching. This is me giving a course. So I said, okay, if we're starting a business in this, I might as well try it myself. We tested it first before launching the whole thing. So we did our MVP. We tested it by putting a free course online, which I taught on growth mindset. A new topic for teachers. Teachers don't know anything about it. We wanted to understand, is there appetite? Does the Saudi teacher really want to improve themselves or not? So we put a free course online, and in the first, I'm not sure if it's here. Okay, I'll go back to it. But in the first week, we had put, our target was 1,000 teachers. In the first week, we got 10,000 teachers. In the second week, we got 16,000 Saudi teachers registered to the free course online. We had a completion rate of about 20%, which is higher than the completion rates in general MOOCs. So we thought, okay, there's a demand, let's invest in this, let's build this more. How are we going to build it? How is it going to be different? We're going to focus on the cognitive, emotional, and the craft. So I cannot come and talk to the teacher and just give her strategies. They're really stressed. We really need to talk about important things like the emotional side of the work that they're doing under the different circumstances that they're facing at schools. So we developed our own way of training, which we don't only focus on skills, we focus on mindset. Because the problem of the Arab teacher is not their skill, it's their mindset. So how do you change the mindset of the teacher to be more receptive to learning? And we tried to develop the platform. So we did 2 tests to date, because we're still in very early stages and baby steps. The first test was the free course for 10,000 teachers, where we had very high registrations. The second test, which we wanted to test, was to do a blended model of learning. Lanu teachers, they really need to practice in the classroom. So we launched a teaching with digital technologies with the University of Cambridge, and we are running it again now with MISC, and we did it with the National Digitization Unit, and the results were phenomenal. I'm going to end with the results. Number one, through the blended learning model, we realized that the frequency of the usage of technology was higher. Choosing more effective technologies was higher. Confidence in using digital technology, especially among women, was higher, and we actually saw it in the classroom. We actually went to the classrooms and we saw teachers implementing everything that we were teaching, and this was like the highlight of the work. And we realized that the blended model might be the way forward. So to date, we're trying to find our business model and trying to craft it. How can we create professional learning communities? How can we create engaging content for teachers? And how do we really get this model to effect on a larger scale and create change in Saudi? So this is what we've been doing for the past year, I would say. Thank you.